Hey peeps, I come to you today because after doing some more research, I come to realize that the First Amendment says I have the right to work as I see fit, and no state statute can erroneously convert that into a payment and tell me how much I'm going to charge. I'm learning a lot about the Constitution. However, this goes out to all the peeps that reside in Vermont. If you got a DLS, traffic infractions, that has nothing to do with criminality, you need to hit me up. Any DLSs, 1, 2, or 3, any traffic moving violations, any speeding tickets, anything to do with just traffic court itself that has nothing to do with criminality, even though I could help you on that. Uh, Hit me up, because no matter what a lot of people are saying as far as being player haters, the fact of the matter is you have the right to travel unencumbered, unfestered, unmolested on a public highway in your automobile behind a wheel, taking care of your personal agenda. That is your right. That is your constitutional right. You can't be taken away. I work on gifts. You're going to gift me. You're going to gift me. I'm going to help you out. Guaranteed. Anything to do with traffic, there's no criminality to it, I can help you get off it. I can give you the education. I can help you with a template and a motion. Do any of that. Because why? Because you don't need a license to practice law in a criminal court, traffic court, none of that. It's your First Amendment right. Your right to work. It's your right. See, a lot of people believe into the system. So I get all these comments. Player haters. And the only person you're playing is yourself. I get called the nitwit and everything else because I suppose they didn't supply documentation so people can research this. Well, I did supply documentation. I told you a bunch of cases. Mayberry. They're trying to tell me that case doesn't apply. Well, you better read it. You better read it again and understand what the case is. Because if you're reading something and you don't understand what the case is, then you're not going to understand. It's as simple as that. And me, the more education I give myself on this, the more I read, the more I listen to a constitutionalist who's an expert constitutionalist. I'm going to listen to him. And he's taught me so much in the last month. I amaze myself. Believe it, I amaze myself. Don't give a fuck, I smoke cigarettes. Don't give a fuck, I smoke weed. Although this is a cigarette, I just break them into little small hootie cigarette hits. So I smoke my cigarettes. Got any articulable evidence to suggest different? I think not. I think not. It's got to have articulable evidence to be able to legally detain somebody. When you get pulled over, and I'm going to wrap this all from the head now, folks, for you, for all you saying I got to read on a piece of paper and everything else, and I'm getting pretty good because the more I rap it, the more I learn, the more I can speak it. If you can't speak the fucking rap, then you ain't got no game. If you can't shut them down and speak your rap, you ain't got no gain. You ain't got no game, you ain't gonna make no gain. I mean, it's as simple as that, peeps. You gotta understand, anytime they pull you over for speeding, DLS, driving license suspended, if you are not acting in interstate commerce, making money with your license for hire, or making private gain by way of highway, then you do not, by the Constitution and by the United States Supreme Court ruling, need a license to travel on a public highway. Now, when you deliberately indifference them out that little crack here of your window, because you got your doors locked, you're recording, and once you deliberately indifference them, they are obligated to uphold the Constitution in the citizens' favor. Period. When they fail to do that, they're violating your due process of law and your equal protection of the law. Okay, your Fifth Amendment. Soon as they violate and they deny and impede your due process, jurisdiction over the person automatically ceases. Means they have no more right to jurisdiction. They've lost jurisdiction. So anything they do to you, they can be held accountable not only in their professional capacity, but on their persons as well. And that means an attachment to their house, their car, their bank account. They live fucking paycheck to paycheck. How the fuck you like me now for violating my rights? I'm adamant. I swear, don't give two shits. Don't like it, beat feet, find another channel. It's who I am. It's freedom of speech. But I'm here to try to educate, to try to help people understand and open up their minds. You don't need to have a college education to protect your rights. Your rights are yours. They cannot be taken. No matter what they say. If that amendment says this, then that's the way it is. They cannot take it. It's against the law to do so. And they can face imprisonment. Yes, a police can face imprisonment for violating your constitutional rights. Chances of that happening, probably slim to none. But there's other remedies, and that's called a tort claim. USC 42, 1983 and 1985. 1983 is claim of deprivation of constitutional rights in the Bill of Rights. Excuse me, Constitution of the United States and the Bill of Rights that go along with it. 1985 is conspiring. Two or more conspiring. Now, it's written kind of funky. Okay? It's written XYZ. Or if an officer is deprived and this and that. But you got to catch the first part of it. Okay? And don't think that it automatically applies to an officer being deprived of his duties and XYZ. It's not how it works. Okay, that's part of it, but that's the second part. You got to catch them quickies in there that says, or, not and, or it's either this way or it can be that way. Okay? You got to read it for what it is. Read between the lines. Fill in the blanks, peeps. Um, right now, I'm suing. I haven't come up with an exact number, but it's around $700,000 right now that they are actually into me for the violation of my constitutional rights and the Bill of Rights that go along with it. They're in violation of my First Amendment, impeding my freedom of actions, and my freedom of movement. They violated my Fourth Amendment as I have a right to be secured in my person's property and effects. And I wasn't secured. You turned around and unlawfully detained me. And you didn't have lawful jurisdiction to do so. And then they violated the fifth. Equal protection of the law, your equal protection clause. That protects your first, second, third, fourth, sixth, seventh, and so on. And then they violated the ninth and the 10th. They overstepped their limitation of what the Constitution allows them to do. They overstepped their jurisdiction boundaries. Their misconduct can be held accountable in a civil suit in federal court. They can. And listen, if you do something wrong and you go to court and lose, you pay. If they do something wrong and you can prove it, they have to pay. That's how the law works. Transparent, equal protection of the law. I deliberately indifference these people, these public servants of my fee. And they laughed at me and continued to unlawfully detain me. Well, I can tell you now, they're not laughing. They're realizing, yeah, I may stutter once in a while. I might have trouble with reading a word or pronouncing a word. Oh, well. But when it's time to put it on paper and have it all right and spelled right, yeah, and I can speak it. I just stutter sometimes speaking, but I can speak it. It's all right there. So, you know what, peeps? Open your eyes. Understand your constitutional rights and the Bill of Rights that go along with it. Understand that. Understand that you have rights if you timely speak up. You know? And timely is what I understand it to be, is as soon as they do something, you timely speak up and say you can't do that, and the reason why you can't do that. Get it out there. Get it out there in documentation, whether it be orally or not. Get it out there. They're supposed to, anytime that a public servant approaches you, by law, they have to have that camera on. They have to. Anything shy is against the law and policy and procedures. It's, Okay, peeps. I figure I just want to let you know that the First Amendment of the Constitution guarantees me that I have the right to work, and no state or agency can erroneously convert that basic right and tell me what I'm going to charge or attach a license and a fee to it, or a fee and a license to it. Can't do it. It's against the Constitution. I have the right to represent and work in the court of law. That's how it goes. You have to know the law. If you can speak this stuff and understand this stuff, you will shut them down. I shut them down, and I don't care what anybody thinks or says. I know the reason when it came right down to it, is they didn't have jurisdiction over this person. They continued to try to enforce jurisdiction over this person for 6 months. Caused a lot of turmoil in my life. A lot of turmoil. Mental anguish. And once they act outside their jurisdiction, and act outside the limitation of the Constitution with an armed gun, that's a problem. That's an issue. It's against the law. You're acting outside your authority and outside the limitation of the Constitution that you swore to protect and uphold. And you're armed telling me what constitutional rights going to apply to me and which one isn't right now. Who the fuck are you? Give a fuck you're a cop. You're a nobody. You got no jurisdiction over me. You're violating my civil liberties. Beat it. Before I end up taking your house and your bank account and your dog in a civil suit. That's how it works, folks. So I make these videos to try to help you understand, or try to educate some of this willing to learn that you have these rights that they can't take. No matter what anybody says, no matter what anybody comments on here. You have these constitutional rights. They're spoken in plain English. Read it. Understand. Because the First Amendment does give me the constitutional right to act as a lawyer. Not even act as a lawyer, but to be an attorney and help somebody out in the court system. You have the right to work. That's another part of your First Amendment. You have the right to work, and no state or agency can erroneously turn a basic right and charge a fee and license for it. They can't do it. It's against the law. You know, it's as simple as that. So now I'm writing up a United States Code 42, 1983 and 1985 civil suit. And I am suing the Colchester Police Department of Vermont for treading and impeding on my constitutional rights and the Bill of Rights that are attached to it. You violated the First Amendment. Life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness. Okay? For starters, you violated Amendment 4. I have a right to be secured in my person's property and effects. You unlawfully detained me. I'm not secure no more. Number 5, Amendment 5. You have a right to equal protection of the law. Number 9 and 10. Nobody has the authority to change, alter, or impede what is previously already guaranteed to you. 10. No law enforcement or agency can act outside the limitation of the Constitution and the Bill of Rights. 14. Amendment 14. You have a right to be left alone unless there's lawful jurisdiction over the person. That's just your rights. We haven't even got into the United States Supreme Court ruling, although we have in prior videos. But now you start citing your rights in your argument, your briefs, memorandum of law, and you break it down for them when you state it. No state can XYZ. No government can XYZ. I'm immune to prosecution under XYZ. When they violate the jurisdiction and they have no lawful jurisdiction, automatically they lose jurisdiction. Okay, when they violate your due process of the law, which is your equal protection of the law, and they violate that, you know you have that right. They lose jurisdiction over the person. Once they lose jurisdiction over the person, anything they do, you have a right to sue in the USC 42, 1983 and 1985. Because you can bet there's two or more conspiring to deprive you of your constitutional rights. For one, he has to call it into the dispatcher. Dispatcher swore to uphold the call. Has to. You have to swear to be a police officer or dispatcher. Police officer or dispatcher. You just have to. So there's two or more for starters. And then once you don't give them your identification because it's a traffic stop or something like that, because you have a right to be secured in your property affecting papers without a search warrant. So if I didn't commit a crime, you're not getting a search warrant. That's the only way you can lawfully have jurisdiction over this person, is if I committed a crime. Traveling on a public highway that's upheld by not only the Constitution of the United States, but the Supreme Court rulings, gives me automatic immunity. Therefore, I am immune to prosecution. So anything that you do is a violation. So go ahead and do it. Do what you got to do. Break my window. I'm a non-violent individual. I have no ill intent. I'm non-violent. But you're going to have to create violence to violate my constitutional rights and Bill of Rights. You're already impeding my freedom of action and my freedom of movement, for starters. Okay? I have a right to freedom of action and the right to freedom of movement right off the bat. And I also have the right to life, liberty, and pursuit. Once you violate those three things, you lose jurisdiction over the person. Okay? You got to understand what jurisdiction over the person means. It's just so powerful. It's your constitutional right. It's constitutional law, jurisprudence, constitutional law. If you have not committed a crime, then anything from there on out is an unlawful detention over your persons. They don't have jurisdiction over your persons, therefore they're violating your civil liberties. And they can be held accountable. Like I said, I'm 3 days into writing up this USC 42, 1983 and 85 civil suit in federal court. And I'm telling you, I've never done one before. I've written up lawsuits for state court and shit like that. But writing up a federal lawsuit, it's got to be so much on each side of the paper. You got to answer all the questions. You got to count 1, 2, 3. So how many officers there is? Let's say there's 5 officers. That's 5 counts. And then you got your 6th account as a conspiracy. So you name them all in that one count. And you explain how every one of them conspired to deprive you of your rights. But before you do all that, you got 5 other accounts you got to answer to. So count 1, officer such and such unlawfully deprived me of my freedom of action, freedom of right of movement. In the process, to violate my due process, equal protection of the law, violated my right to immunity, and had no lawful jurisdiction over the person creating a kidnap. You got to be able to speak it. I'm not reading from a piece of paper. I read from a piece of paper so I can turn around and keep on doing it. And that's why I make these videos, to keep on repeating myself. So it's like, you guys are court. It's like I'm talking to a judge, because I get comments like a fucking judge trying to persuade me of telling me that I don't know the law, or I'm misinterpreting something, or I'm stuttering, or I this, or I that. Whatever. You're the least of my worries. I do this so I can turn around and know it. So I can turn around and speak it timely. Because they turn around and say something and you let it go, and then you try to challenge it, you might lose the right to challenge what he said 20 minutes ago because he didn't timely speak up. So understand and know the law. I ain't no F.B. Bailey. By far and I am F.B. Bailey. I ain't no Perry Mason. But I can tell you what. The more I educate myself, the more I take these courses, the better I can speak it, the better I understand it, and the better I know my rights. Peeps, you gotta know your fucking rights. You gotta understand what your rights are. You gotta understand you got multiple rights and one right. Amendments. United States Supreme Court ruling, which is law of the land, that made decisions on these constitutionality issues. Okay, peeps. I've tried. I'll continue to try. You got to read the cases. You got to read the cases and understand them. You got to read the side cases that have been added on to the cases. You know how many comments I got that Reno versus Cadan. Oh, that ain't about traveling. Well, yeah, it actually is. It's a case about your rights, your constitutional rights. And then that's why they got other cases cited in with that cases to refer to other cases to back up what that case is saying. You read a case and it says they won because of the right to assemble. And then you apply it to traveling. Oh, that don't mean that because it's about a right to assemble. Well, you got to read the case a little more. It's a Bishop case, and I could pull it out, but I'm not gonna. And the gist of it was the right to assemble and everything else. But along that argument, issues were brought up that were ruled on that apply to your Constitution. Okay? And if you can't do that, then you can't tread on somebody. Okay? Even though it's not related to traveling itself, but if the law says that you have the right to do X, Y, Z, and that's what the Constitution and the amendment means, and you can apply it to this because they can't step over that wall because that ruling gave you the right to do this, then that case applies, even though there's nothing about traveling in it. You got to understand how to use a case, how to argue a case. I'm not F.B. Bailey. I don't pretend to be. You can tell by the way I dress and the way I talk I'm not. But I can tell you what the fuck I am. I'm a man who is educating myself on the Constitution, the Bill of Rights, on Supreme Court rulings. Let me tell you, son, I just got caught doing about 70, 75, I don't know. Okay, coming down to exit a ramp. And I passed this state trooper doing this. Didn't even bother pulling me over. I think they've already been delivering difference. XYZ car, XYZ license plate. It's like a mark on your license, even though you don't have a license. It means when they run you, there's a mark there saying, don't fuck with this dude. Tell him have a good day and send him on his way. Because they already know that you're an American that's not going to bow down and fucking follow their balls. They're going to be following your balls and make sure you don't sue the fuck out of them and everything they worked for. You do have recourse when these, and that's the best thing, and that's when you have recourse. You really got to understand jurisdiction over the person. If you don't commit a crime, simple as that, if you don't commit a crime where there's a part of your victim, then they have no lawful jurisdiction over the person. Period. They don't have no jurisdiction over the person if you have not committed a crime. And if they don't have no jurisdiction over the person, then anything they do against you is against your constitutional rights. It's that simple. They have to have, let me reiterate this, folks, they have to have, by law, lawful jurisdiction over your persons to be able to fucking detain you, kidnap you, issue tickets, anything like that. It's as simple as that. That's how the law works. And that's why I got $980 worth of tickets, even though they didn't hear the motion, because they didn't want to hear that motion. It's another documentation to hold them accountable, but they don't realize I've already filed it in court. So, I already filed it in court. And, of course, the state's attorney comes and sits right next to me after he had a couple hours to read it and talk to his colleagues about it. And he said, I thought we made an agreement that you were going to donate $75 to the church and we were going to dismiss it. I said, yeah, we discussed that, but I says, you don't have a case for willfulness at all, meaning you're violating my rights. 20 minutes later, court clerk says, the void. I said, yeah. He says, you're out of here. Your case been dismissed. So that's the way that goes. And my case was dismissed. And I believe the leading cause to that case being dismissed was my motion dismissed for lack of jurisdiction over this person. Because you didn't have no jurisdiction. You violated my equal protection of the law to travel on a public road without being charged a fee or license, which is a Supreme Court ruling. Okay? You hampered my right to life, liberty, and happiness, which is a Supreme Court ruling that pertains to traveling. You violated my Fourth Amendment. I have a right to be secured in my person's effects and property. You held me unlawfully in a detention. You unlawfully stopped me from freedom of acting and freedom of movement. You violated my Fifth Amendment to equal protection of the law and immunity to the law. You violated the Ninth and 10th Amendment. Nobody has the authority to change ad that is going to take away from your previous guaranteed rights. The law enforcement has to act within the limitation of the Constitution. If he overbounds that, you automatically, by law, are immune to prosecution. So if you're not committed a crime, and they do all these things I speak of, you're immune to prosecution, but you have to know how to speak it. Okay, and your 14th Amendment, you have a right to be left alone unless there's lawful reason to be detained. Period. That's how the law works, bro, peeps. And I keep on speaking and keep on speaking. I don't care if the video is an hour long, hour and a half long. Don't watch it. I don't care. Don't learn from it. I don't care. But what I am doing, though, and you guys don't even realize that I'm educating myself right now by speaking to you. I keep reiterating, keep on repeating myself of what I'm going to be telling the judge. And I'm doing it all from my head. And I know I'm losing a lot of people that are newcomers, people that don't understand. But when I get into court, I'm going to be speaking a little bit faster so they understand what's going on. Life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness. You can't do that because you violate due process. Due process, you violate, you lose jurisdiction. Lose jurisdiction, it means I'm immune to prosecution. And I was just talking about this, you citing these cases. Okay? That's how it works. Okay, I cannot express enough. Pick up the book. If you've done anything in your fucking life, pick up the Constitution of America book and its Bill of Rights and read it. Read it. The 10th Amendment and the 9th Amendment states clearly that no authority of government can pass any statute, secondary law, whatnot, so on, however you want to phrase it, but this is what it means. Cannot pass no secondary law, pass any enactment, anything like that that's going to previously or take away what is previously already guaranteed. You have to bring that forward and make it better. You can't take it away because you have an amendment now. Don't work that way, peeps. Okay, I'm out of here. I got Texas coming in. Y'all be good.